Some movies do not need intense action scenes to remain unforgettable. Steel Magnolias is one of them. Released in 1989, the film takes viewers to a small town in Louisiana, where Truvy's beauty salon becomes a familiar gathering place for the women of the American South. Amid the sound of hair dryers, casual gossip, and humorous arguments, they share everything from love and marriage to the most heartbreaking losses. At the center of the story is Shelby, a young woman with type 1 diabetes who still longs to get married and have a child. Although her mother, Malin, fully understands that pregnancy could bring Shelby close to death, she cannot stop her daughter from choosing the life she wants. The film features an extraordinary cast: Julia Roberts, Sally Field, Dolly Parton, Shirley MacLaine, Olympia Dukakis, and Daryl Hannah transformed the story into a journey that is both humorous and painful. But what makes the film even more haunting is that the tragedy on screen was inspired by a completely true story. Here are 12 strange secrets behind Steel Magnolias that few viewers have ever known. Number 12. The director was so difficult that the cast had to stage an intervention. Behind the southern sweetness was a director who seemed almost allergic to kindness. Herbert Ross was a talented filmmaker, but he was also known for his demanding personality and working methods that made many actors uneasy. On the set of Steel Magnolias, that strictness sometimes crossed the line. The person under the most pressure was Julia Roberts, who was only 21 years old at the time and the youngest member of the star-studded cast. Ross constantly questioned her acting choices, frequently criticized her in front of everyone, and did not hesitate to push the young actress into highly stressful situations. More than once, Julia left the set in tears.
Were you surprised that Julia Roberts was the only one nominated from Steel Magnolias?
I was rather, yes, because I thought certainly Sally should have been nominated, because I thought she was extraordinary in the picture.
What was happening quickly caught the attention of the veteran actresses. Sally Field, Shirley MacLaine, Olympia Dukakis, and Dolly Parton all treated Julia like the little sister of the group. They did not like the way she was being treated. Even Dolly Parton once became the target of Ross's cutting remarks. When Ross asked whether she actually knew how to act, Dolly fired back with a line that made the entire crew laugh. "I don't know." But isn't that your job?
Well, I must have missed the passage in Emily Post that said all abuse is heaped on the mother of the bride.
However, behind Ross's unpleasant behavior was another story. Just a few years before the film was made, he had lost the wife he had shared nearly 3 decades with. That pain seemed to have never truly faded. Many people believed that his bitterness and temper on the set partly came from that loss. In the end, Shirley MacLaine was the one who confronted him directly. She and the other actresses made it clear that his behavior could no longer be accepted. It was almost like a group intervention in which the cast decided to protect their young colleague.
Hold on, Clary's getting you some juice. Shelby. Should I get her a cookie? No, juice is better.
Strangely, that confrontation brought the actresses closer together than ever before. They were not only playing a group of deeply connected women on screen, they truly became a united group in real life. Number 11. Every actress in Hollywood turned down the role of Shelby before Julia Roberts got it. Before Julia Roberts became Shelby, the role passed through the hands of several actresses like a Hollywood game of hot potato. The search for the right actress caused the producers so many headaches that it began to feel like an endless treasure hunt. The first person they had in mind was Daryl Hannah. With her striking beauty and growing fame, she was considered the perfect choice for Shelby. But Hannah surprised everyone by turning down the leading role. Instead, she wanted to play Annelle.
There's nothing to tell. I live here. I've got a job now. That's it. How about a few of these back issues of Southern Hair?
Sure, take them.
Annelle was the eccentric hairstylist known for her unpredictable decisions and colorful personality. It was a bold choice because Hannah passed up the central role to play a supporting character with less screen time. After losing Hannah, the filmmakers quickly turned to Meg Ryan. The young actress agreed to join the film, but then unexpectedly withdrew after receiving an offer to star in When Harry Met Sally. That decision later became one of the biggest turning points in Ryan's career, but it sent Steel Magnolias back to square one. The list of candidates continued to grow with the name Winona Ryder. However, she was still too young at the time. It would not have been easy for audiences to believe that a girl just over 16 could play a wife and mother facing serious complications from diabetes. Laura Dern was also considered, but the opportunity eventually passed her by. When every option seemed to have reached a dead end, the casting director decided to give a chance to an almost unknown actress, Julia Roberts. Having just completed Mystic Pizza, Roberts was not yet the star Hollywood was chasing. But from the moment she entered the audition room, with her radiant smile and rare natural energy, she made everyone take notice. She walked into the room, flashed her familiar radiant smile, and immediately captured the image of a young woman from the American South perfectly.
Well, now he lives in Monroe and goes to First Presbyterian. When he found out where I was from, he asked me if I knew you. He used to live in Ohio somewhere. His wife just died recently and he's moved back down here.
It turned out that when Plan A chose the funny supporting role, Plan E received an Oscar nomination. Number 10. Robert Harling wrote the entire play in just 10 days after his sister passed away. Robert Harling did not sit down to write a hit play. He sat down because if he did not, he might have lost his mind.
Started looking again for our Shelby, and we'd seen all the great actresses of that era, Laura Dern.
In 1985, Harling's life changed forever when his sister, Susan, passed away at the age of 33 from complications of type 1 diabetes. Those were the same complications that took Shelby's life in the film. The most heartbreaking part was that doctors had warned her that pregnancy could threaten her life. But Susan still decided to have a child. She wanted to become a mother, despite all the risks.
I want a child.
What about adoption? You filled out all the applications.
Mama, no judge is going to give a baby to someone with my medical record.
In 1983, Susan gave birth to a healthy baby boy and named him Robert, after the brother she loved deeply. But that happiness did not last long. Just 2 years later, Susan passed away, leaving behind a son who was still too young to understand what had happened. That loss haunted Harling every day. He could not stop thinking about his nephew. What would happen when the boy grew up without any memories of his mother? What if one day, all that remained of Susan were a few old photographs? A friend advised him to write down those emotions as a way to heal. At first, Harling planned to write a short story, but he quickly realized that the Southern women he knew and loved could not be contained within a few pages. They talked constantly. They laughed loudly. They argued, teased, and loved one another in their own unique ways. So Harling sat down at his desk and barely stopped writing. In just 10 days, the entire play, Steel Magnolias, was born. It was not a collection of small pieces joined together, but a complete story written from grief that had not yet begun to fade. When the play was performed, audiences laughed at the everyday stories inside the beauty salon. By 1989, the film had turned that story into a phenomenon that made all of America sob.
I think it's just the part of the magic of film is that people know they don't know me, but they know the story.
10 Days of Grief became one of the most frequently quoted plays in America. Harling wrote it for his nephew. The rest of us simply happened to borrow it to help us through our own pain. Number 9. Bette Davis invited Robert Harling to tea and then personally cast the entire movie. It all began when Davis saw the stage version of Steel Magnolias in New York. She immediately fell in love with the character Weezer, the hot-tempered, sharp-tongued, but extremely funny woman. In Davis's mind, there was no possibility of anyone else taking the role, so she called the writer, Robert Harling, directly and invited him to tea. At first, Harling thought it was a joke. After all, this was Bette Davis, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood history. But when he arrived at the meeting place, Davis was really sitting there with a cup of tea in her hand, completely serious as she discussed the future of the film. The meeting quickly turned into an unofficial casting session. Davis did not only talk about her own role, she began casting everyone. In her mind, Claire should be played by Katharine Hepburn. Truvy had to be Elizabeth Taylor. One by one, the characters were arranged like pieces on a Hollywood chessboard, while Harling could only sit there listening and wondering whether he was still the writer of the story or had become a reluctant spectator. But the most memorable part came at the end of the meeting. As Harling prepared to leave, Davis delivered a message wrapped in the kind of politeness Hollywood was known for. Essentially, He was completely free to give the role of Weiser to anyone he wanted. However, if he did, both he and that actress would certainly hear Bette Davis's opinion about the decision. It was not exactly a threat, but it was not exactly not a threat either. In the end, the producers decided not to cast Davis because they were concerned that her health would not allow her to handle the filming schedule and the demands of the role. Sadly, in 1989, the same year Steel Magnolias was released, Bette Davis passed away.
America lost a Hollywood legend when Bette Davis died last night in Paris. She was 81 years of age.
In the end, Shirley MacLaine took the role of Weiser and brought exactly the kind of wild, sharp energy that many believed Bette Davis would have delivered. At least someone understood the assignment. Number 8. Dolly Parton and Daryl Hannah had to undergo professional hairstyling training. If you think the actors in Steel Magnolias only had to sit in salon chairs, pick up a comb, and pretend to style hair in front of the camera, then director Herbert Ross had some news for you. No way. Ross was known for being an extreme perfectionist. He wanted the beauty salon in the film to look so authentic that audiences would feel as though they could step through the screen and book a hair appointment immediately. The only problem was that most of the cast had no idea how to operate a real salon. So the filmmakers did something few people would have expected. They brought in professional hairstylists to provide special training courses for the actresses.
Ow! I'm sorry, Miss Weiser. Now, you take your Bible and shove it where the sun doesn't shine.
For weeks, Dolly Parton and Daryl Hannah had to learn everything from holding scissors, sectioning hair, setting rollers, and teasing hair to the skill of styling someone's hair while carrying on a conversation like real professionals. In other words, they were no longer simply preparing for a movie. They were practically studying for a professional license, especially Dolly Parton. For many years, her iconic hair had become part of American popular culture. But taking care of her own hair was one thing. Styling someone else's hair was an entirely different story. Dolly had to spend weeks practicing techniques that she would probably never use again after filming ended. The pressure became even greater during the wedding scene at the beginning of the film. Dolly had to style Julia Roberts' hair, deliver her lines, and land her charming jokes with perfect timing. One slip of the scissors or one wrong move could have turned the rising young star's hair into a disaster right in front of the camera. No one wanted to become the person who ruined Julia Roberts' hair on the big screen. Fortunately, that did not happen. Ross firmly refused to use deceptive camera angles or ordinary movie tricks.
This is going in the Hairdo Hall of Fame.
Shelby, you scared us. That wasn't a nice thing to do to your mama.
If the actresses wanted to play professional hairstylists, they had to truly know how to use scissors and a can of Aquanet hairspray, and the training worked. No one watching the film ever doubted that Truvy and Anel truly knew how to run a beauty salon. Number 7. Julia Roberts became engaged to her husband from the movie, but the romance did not last. Julia Roberts and Dylan McDermott played newlyweds in Steel Magnolias. In the film, she played Shelby, a young bride enjoying happy days beside a husband who loved her deeply. Her husband was played by Dylan McDermott, a promising young actor with handsome looks and a calm presence. At first, it was simply a normal professional relationship. The two actors worked together, rehearsed their lines together, and spent months filming in Louisiana. But then something that often happens in romantic movies began to unfold in real life. Feelings gradually developed between them. At the time, Julia Roberts had just ended her relationship with Liam Neeson. Dylan McDermott appeared at exactly the right moment, and the closeness they shared throughout production caused the line between their characters and real life to become increasingly blurred. Perhaps when two people spend every day looking into each other's eyes, holding hands, and performing romantic scenes in front of the camera, some of those emotions begin to feel more real than expected. By the time the film was completed, the couple was officially engaged. The Hollywood press immediately fell in love with the story. In the eyes of the public, it was a beautiful romance that seemed to have come directly from the movie they had just made. A rising young Hollywood actress and her handsome co-star had found love on the set. It sounded perfect, but Hollywood is rarely as simple as the movies.
Who gives this woman in marriage? Her mother and I do. dearly beloved.
Steel Magnolias was released at the end of 1989 and quickly became a major success. As Julia Roberts' career began to explode, her personal life also changed rapidly. The following year, while working on Flatliners, she met Kiefer Sutherland. Everything began moving in a different direction. Her engagement to Dylan McDermott ultimately did not lead to marriage. Even so, time proved that the breakup did not destroy either person's future. Julia Roberts went on to become one of the most famous movie stars in the world, while Dylan McDermott built a solid and highly respected career in television. Sometimes Hollywood romances do not last forever, but they still remain an interesting part of the story, like a beautiful short chapter between two major films in life. Number 6. Julia Roberts researched the role at the Harling family home over grilled hamburgers. After receiving the role of Shelby, Julia Roberts did not simply read the script and then show up on the set. She went directly to the real inspiration behind the story. Before filming began, Roberts spent time with Robert Harling's parents to learn about Susan Harling Robinson, the real woman who inspired the character of Shelby. While Harling's father grilled hamburgers in the backyard, Roberts quietly listened to stories about the daughter the family had lost. Harling later recalled that when Roberts walked into the house for the first time, it felt as though someone had suddenly lit up the entire room. It was not because she physically resembled Susan. It was because she carried something similar, a warmth, a special kind of energy. She was the kind of person others wanted to be around. Roberts was not simply preparing for a role, she was trying to gather memories of someone she had never met. Little by little, she pieced together an image of Susan through the stories told by her parents, through Robert Harling's grief over losing his sister, and perhaps even through a few Dolly Parton songs playing somewhere in the background of those conversations. When the cameras began rolling, Julia Roberts was not simply playing Shelby. She was honoring the memory of a real daughter, a real sister, brought back to life through stories shared in a backyard, through the love her family still carried, and through memories passed down over the years. Number 5. Sally Field's breakdown scene was so intense that no one dared ask for a second take. The famous funeral scene in the film was shot over several days. Filming continued for days, with all the usual camera angles, close-ups, wide shots, and lighting adjustments. But the moment when Malin erupts with emotion at her daughter's grave was captured in a single take.
I just sat there. I just held Shelby's hand. There was no noise.
To prepare for that scene, Sally Field pushed herself to the limit. She spent hours screaming into a pillow to make her voice hoarse. She wanted every line to sound as though it had been pulled from a completely shattered heart. No control, no composure, only the rawest pain of a mother who had lost her child.
I was there when that wonderful creature drifted into my life. And I was there when she drifted out.
When the cameras began rolling, director Herbert Ross barely interfered. He did not stop the scene. He gave no instructions halfway through. He made no attempt to adjust the emotional rhythm. He simply allowed the cameras to capture everything unfolding before him.
I'm fine! I can jog all the way to Texas and back, but my daughter can't. She never could.
And then Sally Field moved through the entire journey of grief, from choking back tears, despair, and anger to a complete emotional collapse. It no longer felt like a performance. It felt like a real moment that had accidentally been captured on film. When the director called cut, the set fell into absolute silence. No one applauded. No one spoke. The entire crew simply stood there, stunned by what they had just witnessed.
God, I'm so mad I don't know what to do. I want to know why. I want to know why Shelby's life is over. I want to know how that baby will ever know.
Because sometimes, genuine pain is so powerful that even cinema can only step back and quietly bear witness to it.
Will he ever know what she went through for him? Oh God, I want to know why. Why?
Number 4. The minister in the film was actually Robert Harling. Robert Harling wrote Steel Magnolias to cope with the pain of losing his sister Susan. When the play was adapted into a film, director Herbert Ross made an unexpected suggestion. He wanted Harling himself to play the minister who officiated both Shelby's wedding and her funeral. So Harling, a man who was not an actor, had no professional acting training, and was still carrying the emotional wounds of turning his family tragedy into a major film, spent 2 days on the set guiding his fictional sister through the most important ceremonies of her life. In the wedding scene at the beginning of the film, Harling himself is the one who pronounces Shelby and Jackson husband and wife. In the funeral scene near the end of the film, he is also the one who commends Shelby's soul to God. In other words, he brought Shelby's entire marriage to a close, from joy to tragedy. At the same time, he was reliving the story of his real-life sister.
Susan was not, she was not going to be moved. Her thing was to be a mom. And she tried and tried and tried, and eventually she did.
Ross believed Harling was the right person to play the minister, even though he was not a professional actor. Harling had previously filled in for an absent actor in the stage version of the play, so performing was not completely unfamiliar to him. But this was entirely different. This was the film version. There were cameras, there were hundreds of crew members, and Julia Roberts was recreating the image of the sister he had lost. Harling later described the experience with one word: surreal. And perhaps even that was an understatement. Imagine writing about the most painful thing that has ever happened in your life. You watch other people reenact it before your eyes. Then you step into the frame yourself to lead the final farewell. It added another layer of emotional healing to a project that was already a journey of confronting loss. Harling wrote the story, he brought it to the stage, he took part in the film, and ultimately became part of it himself. In that way, he honored Susan in every version of her story, even the most heartbreaking one. Number 3. You can actually sleep in Shelby's house. One of the most fascinating things about Steel Magnolias is that you can not only watch the film again, but also truly step into its world. The house that appeared as the Eatonton family home still stands in real life and is now operated as a bed and breakfast for visitors. Located in Natchitoches, Louisiana, this is where the filmmakers shot most of the memorable scenes of Shelby's family life. During filming, the owners of the house even moved elsewhere, so the entire property could be made available to the production crew. After the enormous success of Steel Magnolias, the house quickly became a dream destination for thousands of fans. Instead of renovating it in a modern style, the owners decided to preserve its familiar atmosphere and transform it into a living cinematic experience.
Ruby, are you leaving so early? Oh, yeah, but I'll have some sweet dreams with this under my pillow. Tell your husband I hope he feels better. He's gonna be fine.
You see a little spud for me?
I'll do it.
All 6 guest rooms are named after characters from the film, with the room named Shelby being the most popular choice. It features the signature pink shades inspired by the famous Blush and Bashful Wedding. Every corner of the house brings back memories of the film, from posters, behind-the-scenes photographs, and production images to numerous pieces of memorabilia collected over the years. What makes it even more special is that visitors do not simply come to look around. They can have breakfast in the same dining room where the cast filmed scenes of the family gathering together, then relax in the very living room that appeared on screen many times. Sitting in the exact places where the characters once talked makes the boundary between cinema and real life almost disappear. For those who have loved Steel Magnolias for decades, spending a night here is more than just a vacation. It feels like an opportunity to travel back in time and relive the moments that moved them when they first watched the film. Number 2. They hired the very nurse who removed the real Shelby from life support. Now we have to talk about one of the most emotionally powerful casting decisions in film history. Director Herbert Ross wanted the hospital scenes to feel as realistic as possible. That was completely understandable. But then he went much further. Ross reached out to the very medical team that had cared for Susan Harling Robinson during the final days of her life.
Morning.
Morning, Gladys. We're doing our Jane Fonda.
The exercises are good for them.
And then he invited them to appear in the film, including the nurse who had personally turned off Susan's life support machine in real life. That is right. That nurse appeared in the film to perform almost the exact same task she had carried out years earlier. Robert Harling later said that this gave the film a special sense of authenticity and emotional weight. And it truly did. Because this was no longer simply about realism, it was almost a reenactment of an actual tragedy. Harling's mother stood behind the monitors while the scene was being filmed. She watched a recreation of her daughter's death. The beeping of the machines was real. The medical procedures were real. The people appearing in the frame were the same people who had lived through that painful day in real life. There was only one difference. This time, someone called. The line between acting and memory was no longer blurred. It disappeared completely. That created a level of authenticity that no one could possibly fake, and something that no one could ever forget. Number 1. Shelby's real-life mother only wanted to see Julia Roberts get up and walk away. When Robert learned that his mother wanted to come to the set, he immediately tried to stop her. He understood that what was about to happen was not simply a movie scene. In front of the camera, Julia Roberts would recreate the most painful moment his family had ever experienced. Behind the camera, Shelby's real mother would have to watch that tragedy happen all over again. But Margaret Harling still showed up. She sat silently on the set, not crying out loud and not asking the filmmakers to stop. Her eyes remained fixed on Julia as the doctors in the film shut down the life support equipment one by one. The room was filled with a heavy atmosphere, while Robert could barely bring himself to look at his mother. After filming ended, he walked over and asked why she had chosen to be there. Margaret did not talk about Julia's performance, nor did she mention how closely the scene resembled what had happened to her daughter. She simply replied, "I wanted to see Julia get up and walk away." The words left everyone around her speechless. In real life, Margaret had watched her daughter pass away, but she never had the chance to see her wake up again. There was no one calling cut. There was no opportunity to start over. But on the set that day, everything was different. Just seconds after the director called cut, Julia Roberts opened her eyes, got out of the bed, and walked away completely healthy. For that brief moment, Margaret was no longer looking at an actress. She was watching Shelby rise again after everything, as though the tragedy had never happened. Cinema could not bring her daughter back, but at least it gave that mother an image that real life had denied her forever. Shelby was still alive and walking away on her own. And those were 12 strange facts about Steel Magnolias. Which fact moved you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with friends who love behind-the-scenes stories about classic movies and television.